Since childhood, I was raised in the Duke's residence to be the future wife of the heir, mastering poetry, song, and household management alike. Yet on our wedding day, the heir, Hua Mingli, actually eloped with a courtesan. The entire hall erupted in shock. I lifted my veil and was just about to request a divorce, but I was stopped by my in-laws. Without a word, they directly brought in Hua Mingli's biological brother, Hua Yunjing, and publicly announced, "Yining, remember this. In our duke's residence, it is not that whoever becomes the heir will marry you. Rather, whoever marries you is the true heir. If you are willing, today shall be your wedding day with the new heir." Hua Yunjing. Before I could even recover my senses, Hua Yunjing had already taken my hand and we bowed to heaven and earth. 6 months later, Hua Mingli brought a pregnant courtesan back to the manor and brazenly forced me to step down. Before I could even speak, my in-laws shouted sternly, "Where did this beggar come from? Throw her out! Our duke's manor struck you from the clan registry long ago." Ancient Storytime Ancient Channel. Hope you like my stories. Please like and subscribe. It wasn't until I was sent to the bridal chamber that I belatedly realized what was happening. It seems I was given a last-minute replacement husband. To be honest, I've known since I was young that Hua Mingli didn't like me. I remember when I was 8 or 9. I had just arrived at the Duke's manor not long before. The first time I saw Hua Mingli, he was leaning by my window, his eyes sparkling as he egged me on. "You're that Song Yining, whom father and mother brought back. Stop writing. I'll take you to catch crickets. It's really fun." Gripping my pen, I glanced at the stern-faced nursemaid beside me and gently shook my head. "The homework assigned by the tutor isn't finished yet. Your Highness should go on your own." Hua Mingli immediately pouted, his youthful face full of disappointment. Boring. Later, when he was older, the old tutor's lectures were dull, and Hua Mingli would always sneak peeks at leisure books below, or toss me small paper balls with funny faces drawn on them. If I ignored him, after class he would block my way, frowning, half joking and half complaining. "Song Yining, you really are no fun. All you do is clutch a book, like a block of wood. Can I just not marry you in the future?" Those words were very harsh, but I was not in a position to talk back to the heir, so I simply lowered my head in silence. I am an orphan. My father was an aide to the Duke, and my mother was a dowry maid of the Duchess. Later, battles at the border were incessant, and in protecting their master, both of them lost their lives. The Duke's manor took me in. Remembering my parents' loyalty, they promised me the position of the future heir's wife. The grace of upbringing is greater than the heavens. Even though I know Hua Mingli does not love me, I have no choice but to marry him. As for whether I love Hua Mingli, whether I will be neglected after the wedding, or whether I will be heartbroken and sad, none of that matters. After our engagement, Hua Mingli became reluctant to see me. On the rare occasions we did meet, he would only cast a look of disgust in my direction. Yet, rumors in the capital about him and a courtesan named Lu Nongyu from the Xiaoxiang pavilion began to circulate increasingly. Hua Mingli not only chartered a painted boat to cruise the lake with her all night but even intended to spend a fortune to redeem her. The gossip reached my ears. Clutching the half-embroidered mandarin duck handkerchief, I pricked my fingertips several times with the needle. In the end, I still went to find Hua Mingli. I intercepted him on his way to the Xiaoxiang pavilion. He looked rather impatient, likely annoyed that I had disturbed him. I dismissed the servants and went straight to the point. The Hua family rule states a man may take a concubine only if he has no son by the age of 40. I know that. Perhaps you are not particularly fond of me. Hua Mingli raised an eyebrow at me, neither admitting nor denying it. I continued, but this marriage was arranged by the Duke and the Duchess of the state. I, Yining, lack the power to refuse. However, after we are wed, I will dutifully fulfill my role, manage the household affairs, and serve our parents-in-law, so you will have no worries on the home front. As for Miss Lu, I can purchase a quiet manor on the outskirts of the city. All expenses will be paid from my dowry, not from the public accounts. You can settle Miss Lu there. I assure you, Her needs for clothing and food will never be lacking. When the time is right, you can bring her into the household as a concubine. In this way, you will neither violate the ancestral teachings nor fail to fulfill your wishes. This is already the limit of what I can do. There is no bride-to-be who would be so magnanimous as to make arrangements for her husband's mistress in advance. Having said my piece, I waited quietly for Huamingli's response. But Huamingli merely looked at me for a long time, then suddenly gave a sneer. No need for you to worry. Dropping those words, he turned around and left. Afterwards came the grand wedding. In front of all the guests, Huamingli eloped with Lu Nongyu. Just as I was thinking, the wedding candle crackled and bloomed another spark. A hand with distinct joints suddenly handed me a handkerchief, coaxing me gently. Yining, be a good girl and stop crying. I raised my head and looked over. It was Hui Yunjing. I instinctively reached up to touch my face, only to realize that at some point, I had cried tears all over my face. Seeing that I didn't take it, Hui Yunjing picked up the handkerchief and wiped away my tears. Take my hand and stand up, then sit at the table. Mother specially instructed the small kitchen to prepare some broth for you. It has been kept warm. You must have gotten up at the third watch today. Eat something to warm your stomach, then turn in early. Turn in? I finally came back to my senses. No matter how heartbroken or aggrieved I felt, tonight was, after all, my wedding night with Hui Yunjing. I couldn't keep crying. I was terrified of being cast aside again. Suppressing my shame, I reached out for Hui Yunjing's belt. His breathing instantly grew heavy. Seeing me shrinking back like this, he reached out and pulled me into his arms, laughing helplessly. Yining, that's not what I meant by settling you in. Never mind. You've never been very brave since you were little. I didn't make myself clear and scared you. Go to sleep. There's no rush. We have plenty of time ahead of us. After finishing the soup, Hui Yunjing and I lay down fully clothed. Inside the red curtains, we could hear each other's breathing. I lay on my side with my back to him. At least this time, I was not left behind again. The Duke and the Duchess are, in all likelihood, the best in-laws in the world. They had specifically instructed the maids not to rush me to get up, so I muddled through and slept until breakfast time before rising. After hurriedly washing and dressing up, I went to the central hall to pay my respects with tea. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, your daughter-in-law, Nei Song, offers you tea. The Duchess's eyes instantly reddened, and she took my teacup with trembling hands. She said, Yining, from now on call us father and mother. Hearing this, I couldn't help but burst into tears as well. In the end, father was coaxing mother, while Hui Yunjing was coaxing me. After Huamingli left, life in the Duke's residence went on as usual, even more peaceful and tranquil than before. Perhaps to make it up to me, mother treated me even better than before. Not only was the authority of the household management entirely handed over to me, but he also provided meticulous guidance and would even take me out to enjoy the spring and admire flowers from time to time. Hui Yunjing went even further. Today, after finishing his official duties, he took me to release floating lanterns. Tomorrow, on his day off, he taught me how to ride a horse. Even on the way home, he never forgot to bring me a plate of osmanthus cakes. Everyone in the capital says that I, Song Yining, am truly blessed. My in-laws treat me even more generously than their own daughter. My scoundrel of a husband ran away, and my new husband dotes on me like I'm the apple of his eye. Half a year passed just like that. At the dinner table, our family chatted casually. Father took a sip of porridge and spoke. The eldest son of the Minister of Personnel's family is dead. They say it was over a singing girl newly arrived from Jiangnan. He got into a fight on a painted boat with the legitimate son of the governor of Jingzhou, vying for her favor. Young people don't know their own strength. He lost his footing, crashed into the corner of a table, and died on the spot. Mother frowned upon hearing this. What a sin. Just last month. Didn't that lordly from the Hanlin Academy take a new concubine home? Utterly lawless. She fights with the main wife day in and day out. She's made the household restless. His wife is the second legitimate daughter of Grand Tutor Zhou's family. She was so furious she went straight back to her maiden home and is causing a fuss over divorcing him. Hui Yunjing chimed in with a few words of agreement as well. But seeing me staring blankly with a pale face, he thought I had been reminded of that sorrowful matter regarding Hu Mingli again. Mother's heart ached, and just as she was about to put down her bowl and chopsticks to comfort me, suddenly, I frowned, bent at the waist, tilted my head, and started retching violently. Ning, Ning Ning, hurry, go fetch the imperial physician at once. The maids and old servants were in a flurry. Some were fetching water, some holding spittoons, and others rushing off to summon help. Just then, a young servant hurried forward to report, "Master, the eldest young master is back." Father paused and exchanged a glance with Mother standing nearby. What has he come back for? He's just making trouble. Send him away quickly. That little servant dared not say another word and hurriedly turned to report back. Outside the manor gate, Hu Mingli was waiting impatiently. Clad in a somewhat worn brocade robe, he flew into a rage the moment he heard the servant's words. Father and Mother refuse to see me? You are talking absolute nonsense. Do you know who I am? I am Hu Mingli, the heir to the Duke's residence. Returning to my own home is perfectly justified. How dare you stop me? Hearing the servant's words, Hu Mingli was so furious that he raised his hand to strike. He was stopped by Lu Shi, who was standing nearby with her pregnant belly. Husband, please don't be angry. Father and mother-in-law are likely still angry about the day you eloped with me. Besides, Sister Yining is still at the residence. If she takes the opportunity to say something in front of our parents, it will be even harder to smooth things over. Hu Mingli slammed his hand down heavily. Looking at Lu's belly, he couldn't help but feel relieved. Nong Yu, you are the sensible one. What you said makes sense. I was too hasty. Don't be afraid. My parents value offspring. Now that you are pregnant, what can Song Yining do even if she is the heir's wife? I will definitely bring you into the household. Hearing this, Lu Nongyu forcibly suppressed the excitement in her eyes. She cradled her belly and collapsed softly into Hu Mingli's arms, her voice becoming increasingly gentle. Husband, Nongyu does not care about such things. As long as I can see you every day, that is enough for Nongyu. Even if Sister Ning dislikes me and makes me a slave or a servant, I would be willing. It is just that our child, he should at least have a proper status. Such humble and submissive words softened Hu Mingli's heart completely. He held Lu Nongyu even tighter in his arms, his gaze fixed firmly on the gates of the Duke's manor. He instructed the servant boy, "Go tell father and mother that the Lu family is now with child. If father and mother do not open the door, I will stand outside with their grandchild." But the household had no time to pay any heed to Hu Mingli. After taking the pulse, the imperial physician's face lit up with joy. He hurriedly reported back, "Congratulations, Duke! Congratulations, Madam! Congratulations, young master! The young mistress has been with child for over 2 months." Mother was the first to exclaim in shock, covering her mouth with both hands as the tears in her eyes instantly turned from worry to ecstasy. "Is it true?" "Husband, did you hear that? Yining is with child. We are going to have a grandson." Overjoyed, he immediately granted the entire household a year's worth of monthly allowance on the spot. Even father, who was always solemn and unsmiling, narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "Good, good. Then we are about to become grandparents." Hu Yunjing was so excited he didn't know what to do. Holding me, he asked 3 questions in a row. "Are you expecting? Yining, am I going to be a father? Am I really going to be a father?" My face instantly flushed hot. I playfully thumped his chest and teased, "Stop asking. Stop asking. Aging, you, the top scholar, are your ears not working today? Have you gone deaf?" This pleasant atmosphere lasted until that servant entered again to report. Father listened with a stern face. Without even lifting his eyelids, he directly waved his hand and drove him away, saying, "Go, go, go. The one in Lu's belly doesn't count as a grandson. I'm in a good mood today, so let him crawl right back to wherever he came from. In the future, Don't come disgrace my duke's residence. When these words were relayed to Hua Mingli, he was furious. What did you say? Did father really say that? Nongyu is carrying his own grandson, the flesh and blood of the Hua family. How could he say such a thing? Is it Song Yining stirring the pot beside him? Go, call Song Yining out to see me. If she doesn't come, I'll barge in to see her. Just as Hua Mingli rolled up his sleeves and was about to force his way in, Madame Lu had likely been standing for too long and was feeling somewhat dizzy. She was already unsteady on her feet as she leaned against the carriage. Seeing this, Hua Mingli could no longer continue making a scene. He could only take Lady Lu back to the inn first. But then he patted his empty purse and, with a forced effort to soften his tone, said to the servant, "Go and report back to father and mother. Tell them that my elopement back then was indeed inappropriate. But I hope they will, for the sake of the grandson in Lady Lu's womb, give this unfilial son of mine one more chance. I will come to pay my respects to father and mother again tomorrow." As a result, early the next morning, mother was invited away by the old Madame Li. They said that Lord Li realized his mistake and had already sold off that unruly concubine. They hoped mother would help mediate and persuade Lady Li to return from her maiden home, and not seek a divorce. Father and Hui Yunjing were once again kept in the palace by His Majesty to discuss matters. I am the only legitimate master in the Duke's residence. When the servant reported to me that Hua Mingli had come again, I was reclining on the couch and vomiting violently. I waved my hand and replied, "According to what father and mother decided yesterday, let him go back. The Duke's manor will not allow him to enter." But the moment my words fell, Hua Mingli rushed in with Lu Nongyu. He yanked me off the chaise lounge and roared, "You really are something. Song Yining." I knew father and mother wouldn't be so heartless as to not even let me in the door. It must be you scheming behind my back and stirring up trouble. I was already vomiting badly. Being dragged by Hua Mingli made me feel like the world was spinning, and I couldn't even speak. The maid nearby hurried over to help me, shielding me as she said, "Young master, you have misunderstood. This is the intention of the Duke and the Duchess, and has nothing to do with our consort. Please let go quickly. The consort is unwell and cannot withstand such rough handling." Seeing that my complexion was indeed pale, Hua Mingli awkwardly let go of his hand. He took Lu Nongyu directly to a seat and ordered me, "Song Yining, you have seen it for yourself. Nongyu is now pregnant with my child. I intend to welcome Nongyu into the manor with the honors due to a secondary consort. If you agree, I will keep the position of the primary consort for you. If you disagree, I will issue a letter of divorce today and cast you out." You vicious woman. I took the tea handed to me by the maid, rinsed my mouth in haste, and barely suppressed the nausea rising in my throat. Just as I was about to speak and explain things to Hua Mingli, Lu Nongyu actually stood up directly, clutching her belly, and knelt before me. With tears falling, she began to plead with me, "Sister, I beg you, for the sake of the child in my womb, please be kind and allow me to enter the residence. Nongyu knows well that her status is low and unworthy compared to yours. Sister, I am willing to be a slave or a servant, waiting upon you. But the child is innocent. As a mother, I cannot bear to let my child be branded with the stigma of an illegitimate child from the moment of birth, to be looked down upon, subjected to gossip, and unable to hold their head up for their entire life." As she spoke, she made a motion as if to kowtow to me. Hua Mingli was the first to recover his senses. Feeling both heartache and anger, he hurriedly stood up to pull her up. "Nongyu, what are you doing? Get up quickly, the ground is cold." "You're still pregnant." Hua Mingli held Lu Nongyu in his arms and coaxed her softly for a few moments before turning back to look at me. He urged impatiently, "Song Yining, what exactly do you mean? Don't just stand there silent, playing dumb. If you can't tolerate Nongyu, then get the hell down from your position as the crown prince's consort. For the sake of their own grandson, I don't believe father and mother will still protect you." The moment I saw Hua Mingli's ferocious look, I felt like vomiting again. It was genuine nausea. Seeing me like this, Lu Nongyu, who was in Hua Mingli's arms and also a pregnant woman, realized something was wrong. She asked tentatively, "Sister, with your frequent vomiting, are you pregnant?" I nodded, and the maid nearby hurriedly chimed in, "Yes. Our young mistress has been with child for over 2 months now, and she is truly feeling unwell. If the young master has business, please wait until the master returns to discuss it. This servant has already sent someone to invite." Smack! Before the maid could finish her words, she was knocked to the ground by a single slap from Huamingli. He glared at me furiously, cursing through gritted teeth. "Song Yining, have all your manners and shame been eaten by dogs? I've only been gone for half a year. Half a year! And you actually dared to cheat on me behind my back, and even have a bastard child." I was stunned by the verbal abuse. Who in the capital doesn't know that after Huamingli eloped, my in-laws helped me swap grooms in the wedding hall? Why does Huamingli still think I married him? Huamingli grabbed my hand and tried to drag me toward the ancestral hall, declaring, "Come, today I will make you kneel and repent in the ancestral hall. Kneel before the ancestors of the Hu family and ask for forgiveness." Seeing Huamingli in this crazed state, I hurriedly struggled to explain. "Huamingli, let go of me first. I'm feeling terribly dizzy. This child isn't yours. I've already changed." The word Mary had not yet left my lips when I saw my personal maid trying to struggle up from the ground to help me, only to be kicked squarely in the chest by Lu Nongyu. She spat out a mouthful of blood and cried out loudly, "Help! Someone! Come quickly! Quick! Come in and save the young mistress." The guards and maids waiting outside rushed in, just as they were about to save me, but I was dragged by Huamingli until I was dizzy and seeing stars. I wasn't paying attention and tripped over a threshold, falling straight to the ground. The pain was so intense that I fell to my knees on the spot, unable to get up, and my lower abdomen throbbed with severe pain. It felt like a warm current flowing out. Huamingli I was pulled off balance by my sudden fall, and when he looked back, his face turned 3 shades paler. I saw that I had already passed out, and blood was continuously seeping from the hem of my skirt. Just then, Hu Yunjing came charging over with his sword and glanced at me lying in a pool of blood. Terrified out of his wits, he even dropped his sword. He knelt on the ground, holding me, and exclaimed, "Yining, quick, go fetch the imperial physician." Behind them followed her in-laws, looking anxious and rushing over, shouting at Huamingli, "You beast! What are you doing?" In a fit of rage, his father grabbed Huamingli by the collar and landed 2 punches. Still unsatisfied, he raised his leg and delivered a solid kick to Huamingli's chest. Huamingli didn't have time to react. His whole body flew backward, his back slamming heavily against the pillar in the hall. Arg! Huamingli let out a twisted scream of agony, feeling as if his internal organs had shifted out of place. Curled up on the ground, he moaned in pain. Mother also hurriedly rushed to Hu Yunjing's side, urging him incoherently, "Yunjing, hurry and move to the inner chamber." "Not here. The floor is cold. Yining can't handle it. Hurry!" Hu Yunjing seemed to be jolted awake by her words. Holding me, he turned and rushed toward the inner chamber. He urged again, "Yes, the inner chamber. Imperial physician. Why is the imperial physician still not here?" Only now did Huamingli choke and cough, struggling to raise his head to look at his father. He said, "Father, why are you still protecting her? Didn't you see? Song Yining is pregnant. I've been gone for over half a year. How could she be pregnant? She clearly cheated on me outside and is carrying a bastard." "You bastard! Shut your mouth!" Father's roar was like a clap of thunder. He stepped forward in a few strides, trembling with rage, pointed at Huamingli's nose, and cursed, "You beast! Yining has long since ceased to be your wife. After you eloped, your mother and I took charge. Right in the wedding hall, we had Yining change husbands and remarry your younger brother, and we let your brother inherit the position of heir apparent. Yining is now the official heir apparent's wife, rightfully married to your younger brother, Hu Yunjing. The child in her belly is your younger brother Hu Yunjing's child. He is the legitimate grandson your mother and I have been longing for so long." Hu Mingli froze in place. As if unable to react, he stood frozen in place. Switching husbands in the wedding hall? Hu Yunjing inheriting the title of heir apparent? Marrying Hu Yunjing? Is that child Hu Yunjing's? Hu Mingli turned his head as if in a trance, looking toward the inner chamber. Silhouettes flitted within, and the muffled exclamations of maids and Hu Yunjing's hoarse cries echoed from inside. He lowered his head again, looking down at the hem of his robe, stained with blood. He murmured, "No, impossible." Inside the inner chamber, a thick smell of blood permeated the air as the imperial physician hurriedly arrived. Hu Yunjing held my hand tightly, kneeling by the bed, his eyes fixed unblinkingly on the imperial physician as he administered treatment. Mother covered her mouth, staring at my face, pale as paper on the bed, and wept, swaying as if about to collapse. Fortunately, the fall was not severe, and the bleeding was stopped in time by the imperial physician's acupuncture. The imperial physician wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and continued, "It is just excessive blood loss. Your vitality has been greatly depleted. Madam, you must take meticulous care of yourself for the coming months until the child is born." Hu Yunjing let out a long sigh of relief. Slowly, he stroked my cheek with his fingertips. He said with lingering fear, "Yining, it's over now. The baby is fine too. You just sleep. I'm right here. I'm sorry. It was my fault. I didn't protect you." After saying this, he slowly stood up. I instructed the maid to look after me and to report immediately if anything happened. Pushing open the door of the inner chamber, I walked out with my mother behind me. In the central hall, Hu Mingli and Lu Nongyu had long since been tied up into the tightest bundles by the guards on father's orders, using the method employed in the army for binding serious criminals. The ropes dug deep into their flesh, leaving them almost unable to move. Hu Mingli slumped there in terror, panting heavily. Lu Nongyu cowered beside him, pale as a sheet, not even daring to cry out loud. Hu Yunjing walked in. Following behind him was his mother, her eyes red-rimmed. Hu Yunjing picked up the fallen sword and walked towards Hu Mingli. Step by step, Hu Mingli was so frightened that his whole body shuddered violently. He screamed incoherently, "No, Ajing, I am your brother. We are born of the same mother. I am your own flesh and blood. Blood is thicker than water. You can't kill me. Father, mother, help. Make him stop. I am your son." While screaming, he desperately looked towards his father and mother. But at this moment, their faces were livid and both remained tight-lipped and silent. Hu Yunjing paid no heed to his wailing and begging for mercy, merely quickening his pace. "Ah, Jing, brother knows he was wrong. I didn't know. I really didn't know that Song Yining had remarried, and even less that the child in her belly is yours. I didn't do it on purpose. Believe me, I really didn't do it on purpose." As he spoke, Hu Yunjing had already walked up to him and stopped. Lowering his eyes, he looked down at Hu Mingli from above. The tip of the sword was pointed at Hu Mingli's throat. Hu Mingli's wailing came to an abrupt halt, leaving only heavy, terrified gasps. Only then did Hu Yunjin finally speak, his voice laced with suppressed fury. "My brother, when he abandoned our family and parents, as well as his newlywed wife, for a prostitute 6 months ago and simply walked away, was already expelled from the Hu family. You, an outsider, forced your way into my home, spewed filth, laid hands on my wife, and nearly cost both her and the child their lives. If I don't kill you, the hatred in my heart will never be quelled." With that, Hu Yunjing exerted force in the wrist holding the sword aloft. Swoosh! A dull thud was heard as a sharp blade sliced through the ropes. The sword point did not pierce flesh and blood. Instead, it severed the ropes binding Hu Mingli's feet. Hu Mingli abruptly opened his eyes. Still in shock, he looked up at Hu Yunjing in disbelief. Hu Yunjing took a deep breath and said, suppressing his emotions, "My parents are still alive. If I kill you, I fear it would grieve them and only add to their sorrow in their declining years. Most importantly, Yining is kind by nature. If she knew you ultimately died at my hands, I fear she would find no peace in her heart either. Leave. Get out of the Duke's residence. From this day forward, never let me see you set foot in here again. Otherwise, I will certainly not let you off. Hu Mingli stood stunned for a moment upon hearing these words, especially when Hu Yunjing mentioned me at the end. Then, he let out a long breath, relieved to have survived the ordeal. Just when I thought I had escaped disaster, Father, who had been sitting solemnly at the head, suddenly spoke. You are not allowed to leave. Today, I am opening the ancestral hall. I will again invite the elders of the Hu clan and the relatives residing in the capital to come immediately. Strike Hu Mingli from the clan records. The color drained instantly from Hu Mingli's face. Being struck from the family register was far more despairing to him than being killed by a single sword. He could no longer be the heir. Now, he could not even be a member of the Hu family. Hu Mingli and Lu Nongyu were escorted to the center of the ancestral hall and forced to kneel on the ground. Father and mother stood at the front, first solemnly performing the ceremony of 3 kneelings and 9 kowtows toward the ancestral tablets. After the ceremony was completed, Father turned around and spoke. With our ancestors above and our uncles and elders as witnesses, our family has been unfortunate to produce such a wicked son. Given the depravity of his conduct and the gravity of his crimes, I presume you have all already heard the rumors. 6 months ago, you abandoned your marriage and eloped, bringing shame upon our clan. This is unfilial and unrighteous. Today, you intruded upon the manor and committed violence, nearly costing the lives of my daughter-in-law and my grandson. This is inhumane and unwise, an act of harming your own kin. Such a degenerate, if we still allow his name to remain in the clan registry, would not only insult the pristine reputation of our ancestors but also bring disaster upon our descendants and shake the very foundation of the clan. Father's voice suddenly rose as he asked the clan elders to bring out the clan registry. His gaze was like lightning, slowly sweeping across the assembled clan elders. Therefore, today the ancestral hall is opened, and the elders are invited to bear witness. Hu Mingli is to be thoroughly struck from the Hu family genealogy. From this day forth, you are no longer a descendant of the Hu family, and you shall no longer pass yourself off as one. Boom! Hu Mingli felt as if something had exploded inside his head, leaving his mind completely blank. He jerked his head up to look at his father, his lips trembling, yet he could not utter a single word of pleading for mercy. Lu Nongyu, standing to the side, was also completely dumbfounded. She had anticipated that following Hu Mingli back would lead to difficulties, humiliation, and being driven away, but she had never expected that the Hu family would truly refuse to acknowledge Hu Mingli. This meant that Hu Mingli would lose everything, becoming even worse off than a commoner. And what about her wealth and glory? It's over! It's all over! Father took one last look at Hu Mingli, whose face was ashen, and said in a deep voice, "Elders, please bring out the clan genealogy. Expel his name and strike him from the records." The eldest elder stepped forward unsteadily, turning to the page that recorded the lineage of the Duke of State. Under the gaze of everyone present, he picked up the vermilion brush that had long been prepared and dipped it heavily in ink. The brush tip hovered above the 3 characters Hu Mingli. Pausing slightly, his wrist descended steadily. A glaring streak of red ink, without mercy, slashed across the name Hu Mingli. One stroke severed the bloodline. One slash severed the family ties. No, Hu Mingli finally spoke. He struggled to crawl forward, seemingly trying to grab onto something, but was pinned down firmly by the guards on either side. Father did not spare Hu Mingli another glance, cupping his hands towards the clan elders and relatives as he said, "I have disturbed the ancestors and troubled everyone. Hu offers his apologies here. In the future, I hope all the elders will strictly discipline the younger generation of the clan. Let this serve as a warning, so that such matters which disgrace the family name do not happen again." The clan elders sighed one after another and nodded, looking at Hu Mingli and Lu Nongyu on the ground. Only disdain and warning remained in their eyes. Father turned around, waved his hand, and directly ordered, "Remove this person from the residence immediately. From now on, if they dare to come within 100 paces of my manor, or swagger about the capital using the name of the Hu family, no need to report back, break their legs directly and throw them to the Jingzhou prefecture." to be punished for impersonating an official's relative and disturbing public order. Yes, the guard assented. Huamingli and Lu Nongyu were roughly dragged up by the guards and hauled out. Mother watched, silently wiping away the tears at the corners of her eyes, never uttering a word. It was not until noon the next day that I slowly woke up on the bed. Mother was sitting by the bed, her eyes red and swollen. Evidently, she had been crying for a long time. Seeing that I was awake, she propped up a joyful smile and looked at me with great care. Yining is awake. Hurry, bring the medicine the imperial physician prescribed. Bring it up quickly. Mother took the medicine bowl, tested the temperature herself, then spoon-fed it to my lips. Good child. This is the prescription the imperial physician wrote to calm the fetus and replenish blood. You must drink it. It is a bit bitter. Mother will bring you some preserved fruits to eat in a while. I nodded in agreement. After resting for 3 or 4 days in a row, I finally started to regain some energy. I also heard from the maid that Huamingli had been expelled from the clan genealogy. She hesitated and spoke to Mother. Mother, Huamingli is, after all, your and father's own flesh and blood, and also Yunjing's brother. I know he committed a grave mistake, one that is unforgivable, but the child and I are ultimately unharmed. If this leaves regret in your and father's hearts and forces Yunjing to bear the reputation of personally dealing with his own brother, Mother knew what I meant. He didn't say much, just held my hand and said, Yining, you must not blame yourself. It's all that beast Huamingli. He has no shame, is neither loyal nor filial, and he deserves it. Mother's emotions were clearly agitated. Her chest heaved slightly with anger, and her tone was indignant. Is this the first time he has behaved so scoundrelly today? Relying on his status as the legitimate eldest son since childhood, Huamingli has acted willfully and recklessly. He refuses to study diligently, fears hardship and fatigue in martial arts training, and spends all day fighting cocks and racing horses with those fops, lingering in brothels and pleasure quarters. When we admonish him, he feigns compliance while secretly opposing us. When we discipline him, he looks terrified on the surface, but behind our backs, he only intensifies his misbehavior. Mother's voice was choked with sobs and filled with deep disappointment. Back when the scandal with that Lu woman caused a stir throughout the city, it is not that we did not give him a chance. We advised him earnestly, applied family discipline, and even confined him to the ancestral hall. But what about him? He only felt that we were obstructing his true love, and that we were rigid and pedantic. On the day of the grand wedding, he committed such a scandalous atrocity. Where did he leave the dignity of the Duke's residence? And where did he place your lifelong happiness? Speaking of this, Mother's tears finally fell, and her voice trembled. For the past 6 months, whether he was dead or alive out there, did he ever send back a single word to ask if his parents were well? No. The moment he returned, he was self-righteously trying to force his way in, demanding that you yield your position, and even laying a hand on you. Yining, listen to me. Expelling him from the clan records was not a momentary impulse on your father's part, nor was it Yunjing seeking personal revenge. This is a rule passed down by the ancestors of the Hu family, and it serves as a warning to all descendants of the Hu clan. If he dares to harm his pregnant sister-in-law for his own selfish desires today, he will dare to do even worse things that bring disaster upon the entire clan in the future. How can such a scourge be allowed to remain in the clan? Mother wiped away her tears forcefully, looked into my eyes, and her tone softened once again. She raised her hand to gently stroke my hair, just as she used to soothe me when I was little. So, you must not let your thoughts run wild anymore. This is absolutely not your fault. What you need to think about now is to take good care of yourself, nourish your body back to health, and give me a healthy, lively grandson. Everything outside is being shouldered by your father and mother, and by Yunjing. No one will ever be able to hurt you again. I listened to Mother's resounding words. The unease and guilt in my heart were gradually replaced by a sense of solid security. I gently squeezed Mother's hand back, nodded, and replied, Yes, Mother, I'll listen to you. Just then, Yunjing pushed the door open and walked in. carrying a bowl of freshly stewed tonic. He walked quickly to the bedside and handed the tonic to the maid. He sat down by the bedside, naturally taking Mother's place, and coaxed me, saying, "Ening, it's all right now. From now on, I will protect you properly." The days passed by one, nourished by a constant stream of tonics. My health gradually improved, and the pregnancy was finally secure. The maid who had been kicked by Huimingli until she coughed up blood that day had also recovered and came to wait on me again. She had a lively disposition. In the past, when she was by my side, she loved to talk and laugh. Bearing a grudge against Huimingli and Lu Nongyu, she began chattering about Thegasich had heard outside. "Chattel, you have been resting quietly these past few days. I fear you do not yet know what is happening outside. That Huimingli, and that Lu woman, they are in a miserable state now." My fingertips holding the pastry paused slightly. The maid continued, "They had no money, so they could only settle down in a small courtyard in the city suburbs. Huimingli didn't have a penny to his name. The private savings he took with him when they eloped have long since been squandered who knows where. I heard that even the money for that Lu woman to give birth was borrowed by Huimingli, who had the cheek to ask his former dubious friends, but seeing that he had been struck from the clan registry, who was willing to lend to him, except for two who really couldn't refuse to save face. And even if they lent it, who knows if they'd ever get it back." I listened quietly, without much turmoil in my heart, feeling only that it was somewhat absurd. The former heir to the Duke's manor, once so noble and extravagant, had actually fallen to such a state. In the end, I couldn't bear it and asked a question. "Then how do they make a living?" The maidservant scoffed, with obvious disdain. "What can he do? He can't carry a load on his shoulder nor lift anything with his hands. He's accomplished in neither letters nor martial arts." I heard that now. Just by the base of the city wall, he set up a small stall, writing letters for people or selling some of his own calligraphy and paintings to scrape by. His calligraphy and paintings used to have people supporting him, but who recognizes him now? She paused, then added, "That Lu woman didn't take proper care of herself after giving birth. They say her health is severely depleted, and now she has to take up washing and sewing jobs to help make ends meet." The two of them often quarrel over money and trivial matters, and the residents in that area all find them a nuisance. They truly deserve it. After the maidservant finished speaking, she carefully observed my expression. Seeing that I showed little emotion and was merely sipping my soup slowly, she felt somewhat relieved and murmured softly, "If I may say so, this is all retribution. After treating you like that back then and ending up in such a state now, let's see how they can still be so arrogant." I laughed involuntarily. Knowing the maid meant well for me, I advised, "All right, there is no need to mention these matters again. How they fare now has nothing to do with the Duke's manor, nor with me. Rather than spending your time on this, you would be better off looking for a husband. I heard Ajing say that you and Ma Yi, the adjutant by his side, are from the same hometown?" The maidservant's face instantly flushed red, and she cast a reproachful glance at me. "Your Highness, what are you saying? What husband and all that? It's embarrassing. I'm leaving now. I'll go to the kitchen and check how the pregnancy medicine is coming along. Tao Chiu, take good care of Her Highness." I watched with a smile as Bijou walked away briskly, and exchanged a smile with the maid named Tao Chiu standing beside me. The sound of familiar footsteps came from outside the door. It was Hui Yunjing returning from the morning court session. He first carefully examined my complexion, then reached out and placed his hand quite naturally over mine resting on my belly. He asked gently, "How are you feeling today? Are you still nauseous? How much did you eat for lunch?" Sunlight filtered through the window lattice, casting a soft, warm golden glow on his profile. Looking at the gentle concern in his eyes, I gently clasped his hand in return, shook my head, and smiled. "They're all fine. The baby just moved. Very strong." Hui Yunjing's brows and eyes instantly softened. He held my hand against his cheek and whispered softly, "Then that's good. In July, I gave birth to a baby boy and named him Huizheng." Hui Yunjing was waiting outside the delivery room at the time, and he rushed in the moment he heard the crying. On that always composed face, there was a rare look of bewilderment. He held the child, his arms stiff as he looked at him over and over, then turned to look at me, his eyes misty. "Yining, you have worked hard." Father and mother were even more overcome with tears of joy, especially mother, who held her grandson tight and refused to let go, exclaiming repeatedly, "He looks just like Jing'er when he was little." Mother and child are safe, thanks to the blessings of our ancestors. The full moon celebration for Huixing was held with great grandeur. Supporting myself on a maid's arm, I walked to the upper pavilion to get some fresh air. Leaning against the vermilion railing, my gaze inadvertently swept over the open gates of the manor in the distance. Amidst the gaps in the coming and going crowd, I seemed to catch a glimpse of a familiar figure, lingering beneath the wall across the street corner. That person wore a blue cloth gown washed to a faded white, with a thin build and a slightly stooped back. He kept peering into the entrance of the Duke's manor, shifting his feet several times as if wanting to draw closer, yet suddenly shrinking back. He merely rubbed his hands, pacing in circles on the spot, before finally leaving. My heart gave a faint flutter. It was him, Hua Mingli. A sudden thought crossed my mind. I beckoned Taoqiu over and whispered a few instructions. Then, from the purse at my waist, I took out several pieces of broken silver of considerable weight and placed them in her hand. A flicker of surprise passed through the maid's eyes, but she quickly composed herself, respectfully replied with eyes, and quietly withdrew. As I turned around, Hui Yunjing was standing right behind me, having naturally witnessed my actions. His gaze paused briefly on the maid's retreating figure before settling on my face. I was just about to explain. Hui Yunjing smiled at me and draped the cloak in his hands over my shoulders. "Yining, there is no need to explain. I believe you. The spring chill is severe. Let's go inside first." About half a shurchen later, the banquet gradually dispersed. The guests began to take their leave one after another. The maid also returned quietly, holding a slightly worn blue cloth scroll in her hands. She walked over to my side and, while no one was noticing, reported in a low voice, "Your Highness, I went to the southern part of the city as you instructed. I indeed found a stall selling calligraphy and paintings by the city wall, and the stall owner was that very person. I selected this plum blossom in winter painting, telling him it was bought by the steward's wife to decorate the servants' quarters. At first, he refused to accept so much silver. I said exactly as you told me, that the painting was excellent and he deserved it, and only then did he accept it. I took the blue cloth scroll, but did not open it to look. I merely continued, 'Put it in the storage room.' Taoqiu took it and answered with a sound of assent. There was a hint of doubt in his eyes, but he didn't ask further. Hui Yunjing finished handling matters in the front courtyard and also returned to the room. He changed out of his everyday clothes, came over to sit beside me, and quite naturally pulled me into his arms, letting me lean against his shoulder. After a long while, his low voice sounded above my head. "Tired today?" I shook my head, found a more comfortable position in his arms, and closed my eyes. "I'm fine. Jing'er has been very well behaved and hasn't made a fuss." I saw him. Hui Yunjing's hand stroking my back paused for a moment, then resumed its movement. I continued. "Outside the door, he didn't come in. I asked the maid to buy a painting from him. Do you blame me?" This time, Hui Yunjing fell silent for a moment. Then, I felt him lower his head, his warm breath brushing against my bangs, and a very light kiss landed there. "I love you. Song Yining, I love you. It has been since a long, long time ago, from the very first moment I saw you." Hui Yunjing never told me. On our wedding day, hidden beneath his dark purple everyday attire was a set of vibrant red ceremonial robes. Fortunately, Hua Mingli ran away. He finally waited for it.